am super excited to introduce my guests. They are two talented actors. I've had an honor, and it was a pleasure to work with, and I have no doubt that they have such a bright future ahead of them. Watch out, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Hunter Shigley and Rob Zoppo are in town. I want to welcome you guys to the show. Welcome to the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast.
Thanks for having us, Billy.
It's good to see you guys.
It's good seeing you too, man. I miss that studio.
Yeah, we got a lot of great memories here. So I wanted you guys on the show because, I created the podcast to inspire young other artists to follow their dreams, right? If a kid like me can come out to Hollywood from Brooklyn with $200 in my pocket and a one-way ticket, not knowing a soul out here and making the dream a reality, then why can't you? The listener out there. And, you two are on the path, you're on the journey, and I've been watching what you're doing, and I'm pretty blown away. Every time I see you guys and I get a text and I got that part, I'm on my fifth job, or, it's pretty awesome. I mean, for me, that's what it's all about. For me, I get more excited when I get a call from you or an email from you guys or a text going, hey man, I got that part. For me, it's all about being of service, and you guys are really taking what I've taught you and you've taken it to the next level, and you're practicing it and you're putting it in play. And that's why you guys are booking jobs and you're working. So I got to say, I'm really proud of you guys.
Thank you, Billy. And I think I speak for Rob too, but we owe a lot to you for, one, inspiring us to become actors, and two, inspiring us to continue on this journey through all these kind of ups and downs that come with the business.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we can go into depth with our stories, but it's the same thing. I mean, all the little nuggets you've given us, but I think the main thing for me is it's not just like, being an actor, but it's doing the showbiz part of it, right? Doing the business side, because you said there's many actors, right? But not many people are out there booking work or putting themselves out in auditions or creating their own work. And I think that's the difference. If you want to make a career out of it, there's intricacies and there's a lot of things that I've learned from you. And, I've only been doing it for almost 4 years now, but just to be able to like work, within the industry, that's what's the really cool piece. I think that I can say that I've learned so much from you, and I'm sure we can go into more detail about it soon.
So let's just get started with how did you get started? When did you know you wanted to act, Rob?
So I was in musicals as a kid in 6th grade, 7th grade. I was supposed to be like the lead in the 8th grade as in the play as an 8th grader. I can't remember what the play was, but the music teacher at the time didn't like that I was playing sports, and we had this riff. It's like this whole conversation my mother still talks about. It's kind of funny. We don't have to go into that, but I was Jesus in the Mime in 6th grade. It's just like the Stations of the Cross, if you know what those are. It was kind of funny. I did that in front of like 500 people. And I remember to this day, just like that feeling of being so just in the moment, in the zone when I was in 6th grade, carrying that cross, this and that. Like, it doesn't have to be so religious, but it was playing that part.
Sure, that's a big part.
Yeah, and I felt it, and I still feel like I knew what that was like. And I think I've wanted to like chase that feeling, and because it's so like deep rooted in me. And so I was playing sports, and once I started playing sports in high school and getting recruited to play in college, I got away from acting because it was just sports all the time. It was like consuming me, which I liked. And then once I graduated from college, I was like, all right, well, now what? Just get a job and do that whole thing. I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to just stay home, get a job, have a house and car. And I wanted to chase whatever dream I had inside of me. Like, I kept seeing these visions, like, man, you could do this. You could be that guy in that movie. You could be that guy on that TV show. I know I can do it, but I don't know where to start. And I just kept thinking back, like, man, you remember when you were doing that in middle school? Like, that was fun. And I was working at this job I hated, and living in Baltimore, where my family's from. I love Baltimore, but I was like, this is not what I need to be doing right now. And so I left my job. I moved home with my parents for about 3-4 months, saved a couple bucks. I might have had $1,000 in my pocket at the time. And then I booked a one-way ticket, had 2 bags and flew to California, slept on a couch for 3 months. And then, a couple of years later, I walked into your doors, and it's kind of started, what was it? January of 2018, I took my first like headshots, kind of lifestyle shots to just get stuff out there and market myself.
That's awesome. Well, we'll get to you walking in the door of the Manhattan Actor Studio. How about you, Hunter? When did you know you wanted to act?
For me, it wasn't really about specifically acting. I was always, both my parents are artists, so I was always kind of around that creativity, and I would always kind of use mostly painting and drawing as an outlet. And I did have that Hollywood dream like everybody else. I want to be famous when I was younger, and I thought that walking down the street, I'd be discovered. And I had that dream for so many years. And as I grew older, I realized nothing in life comes without you putting the work into it. And I actually ended up in LA for some other reasons other than acting or entertainment. But right when I had the opportunity to do something when I was in LA, I was living in the South Bay, and I started calling around, ended up with Billy's number, and then kind of like Rob, just walked in the studio, and it's been great ever since.
Cool. I'd love, Rob, you start. I would love to. What's your recollection of you walking into the studio for the first time, meeting me for the first time?
Okay, so I remember. I was actually just remembering. I was like, how did I get involved with Billy? So January 2018, I took my photos. The first thing I ever booked was this runway show, right? And so then I got my agent from the gym, because everybody at the gym was kind of joking that I did this thing. And so I got my commercial agent. And so I booked my first commercial in say April or May. And I worked with Gia, who was the costume director of the commercial. And Gia knew you. And she goes, "Oh, you live in Redondo? I live in Redondo." And so she gave me your number to call. That's how I got in touch with you. And so, long story short, called you, and you're like, why don't you come in, have an initial, meeting and see if it's a good fit? Because you were honest with me on the phone. You're like, I don't just take anybody on. I want you to, I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to waste my time. I want this to be right. So I remember calling you. We walked in the doors, and I just kind of felt that East Coast, Italian connection, I think, immediately, where I knew you meant business. And so you kind of walked me through a couple of things. We talked about the private lessons before we got to, the master class that you hold. But I just remember walking in, seeing the red chairs that are behind you, seeing the movie posters, seeing the stage. And I was like, oh, this is it. I need to do this. At least need to try it, and give it my best shot, which, if I go for something, I'm going to give it 100%. So I do remember just the backdrop and I was like, oh, this is something I have to do at least once.
That's awesome. Yeah. People think this is a virtual background.
Oh no. When I sat in those chairs, me and Hunter were on those stages. Oh yeah.
We've had some good times here.
Oh yeah.
Hunter, what's your recollection of coming into the Manhattan Actor Studio the first time?
I just remember being at my place in Hawthorne, and I wanted to get into acting. So I just went on Yelp and I started shopping around acting classes. Most of them were up in Hollywood. And at the time I was like, I will do the drive, but I'd rather have something a little more local just to start and kind of get my foot in and just get a little experience. And I came across your number. I don't know if we called and then we met in person, and kind of like Rob was saying, just your no bullshit attitude and presence. I tell everybody I was scared to say no. And I think that's the reason why I took your class. I couldn't say no to you.
That's funny. Well, you guys, I don't work with everybody. I do always have an initial consultation. I want to get in your head. I want to know if you're serious about this. If you want to get into the business because you want to be rich and famous and you want to be on TV and you know, that stuff comes, but you got to do it because you're passionate about it, because it's in you and you want it. You know, this is a tough business. So it's got to really, I got to know that you're fucking serious about it. This is not something you go in there and give 50%. You got to give 150%. And if I'm going to dedicate my time to you, then I need to know that you're serious, that I'm not wasting my time. And, you know, that first initial consultation, that is an audition, you know, that's, you gotta pass that in order for us to work together. And there've been plenty of actors that I said, you know, my schedule's really, I can't, you know, I'll put you on the waiting list, but you know, you know, it's just not going to happen, you know, and you guys walked in the door and I could see how passionate you were about it and how you wanted this. And that's why it's been an honor to work with you, because I've watched you guys grow so much from the moment you walked in the door to what you're doing now is amazing. You know, it's mind blowing. I mean, I was walking on the beach with my wife the other day and I run into you two that I haven't seen you guys in a while. And you got your camera and you're out there and I go, what do you do? What are you guys doing? And you're making movies, man. You're talking scripts and you know, playing with the new camera and, you know, talking, you know, making some moves. And that's what it's about. You know, and even during the pandemic, when the doors closed and the shit hit the fan, you know, we were online. We were immediately, the classes were online. And, you know, while everybody was around, you know, sitting around eating, binge watching Netflix and eating friggin' donuts, getting soft, you guys were in the gym, the actor's gym, training and working on your craft and working on your self tapes. And, you know, all of that hard work paid off. And it's going to pay off because you guys, you know, I mean, I created the 30-day self-tape challenge and you guys are putting self-tapes up there. I mean, you guys have footage of yourself now that you can cut that shit into a demo reel and have some amazing footage. And you guys seriously stepped up. You know, you didn't just do the self-tape with the, you know, the shitty curtain background and, you know, you guys had production value. You framed it. I mean, you know, some of your little projects look like little movies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I love that. I love that you guys are doing that. And you guys are in the game now. I mean, you're working actors, you're in the game. And it's just a matter of time for that right audition to come along. You know, the one that kind of puts you on the map, that TV show, that film, that series, but you're in the game, you know? So let me ask you, how hard is it to break into the business? Rob?
Well, I think it depends. So I didn't have family in Los Angeles. I don't have family in the business, you know, no brother, cousins. So when I came out here, you know, you have that belief that you can do it. So I think one, you need to really believe that you can do it. Not like that false hope, like we're saying, like be rich and famous. It's to be, you know, a working actor. I mean, you gotta be good. You know, you gotta have your chops, you know. The initial audition, like you said, I mean, you're a pretty serious dude. If you can't handle yourself in a room full of people, you're probably not cut out for this, you know, even if you are a great actor, actress behind the camera in your house on self tapes, you got to be able to perform, you know, day in, day out kind of thing. So I think having that belief, that stamina, but then, you know, finding representation, you know, being able to, you know, not just be an artist, you know, but be professional, be like a business person that you can put together this portfolio of, say, headshots, a demo reel. You have to spend the time and the money to do all those things. And then you have to be willing to take rejection, whether it's from the auditions, you know, initially, if you don't have any representation, being able to self-submit, you know, how diligent are you to wake up every day, get on Actors Access or LA Casting or Casting Frontier, and be like, you know what, this breakdown fits me, submit yourself to 100 of them if you have no representation, just so you can start, you know, seeing what it's like to do a self-tape, because nothing's really in person anymore. So you need to be able to, I'd say, one, be diligent to wake up, have all that stuff ready so that you can self-submit and then submit to agencies. And then two, you got to learn how to, the technical side now is, do you have the ring light? Do you have the phone and know how to use iMovie to chop things up? You know, there's a couple of intricacies I think you need to know at this point and practice. It's not going to be great when you start, but you need to at least start somewhere and then get those reps so that your self tapes and, you know, you get your representation. And then once you kind of break in, you kind of just can't give up. You just got to do all your auditions and take the no's and you know, eventually you get on set and you get that high. You're like, holy cow, this is what I want, you know? And I got paid for this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Every no brings you closer to a yes. You want to get no's. No's mean you're in the game, man. You can't take no's personal. You got to go, yeah, man, I got in the door. As long as you go into that room and, you know, give 150% and leave a piece of your soul behind in that room, they're going to remember you and they're going to become a fan of your work and they're going to bring you back because casting directors, they want to look good. And if you make them look good, they're going to be a fan of your work. Now, if you play it safe, you don't know your lines, you're not prepared, guess what? That door is going to close and you might never get back in that room ever again. Hunter, how about you? How hard is it to break into the business?
I definitely agree with Rob. There's just so many things to do on the back end. Just besides the acting itself, there's so many different things on the business side that you kind of have to put forward, and you kind of have to pay your dues with all that and the practice, getting the representation, all these auditions, which is the acting. But there's so much behind the scenes rather than just going to set and shooting. And everybody wishes it was as easy as that, but you got to put in the work. And I'm a big believer in no matter how good of an actor you are, you just have to start somewhere, and then you just have to build off the last and just do better and better on the next one. I remember doing the one-on-ones with you, Billy, and looking back on some of the footage, it's like, wow, like I'm glad I stuck with it. And I see a lot of growth, and I've done student films, short films that are horrible, just terrible starting off. But from those shorts and student films, I've learned a lot, and I've done bigger ones and done bigger shorts and a bigger budget. So it's all about just, for me, I think it's a lot about experience and just getting yourself out there. And the more stuff you do, the more things you soak up, the more people you meet, and connections is huge too. Because I've worked on a lot of projects where I've said one line and the guy liked me, and he calls me back and says, hey, now I got a smaller role from you. Hey, now I got a lead for you. And just getting those relationships is huge.
Yeah, but it's also about delivering, you know, being that actor that shows up and you got that can-do attitude and you're giving everything, even if it is one line, you're showing up and you're doing the work that and they like to work with you. They're going to bring you back. They're going to want to work with you. It's all about relationships, you know, and it is paying your dues and having that on-set experience and learning and learning what not to do, you know. You learn a lot being in those short films, and you get footage. I mean, I've seen your footage from some of your short films. You got some great footage playing characters on a, you know, with some production value on a set, or, you know, with an actress, you know, all of that stuff is just great for your experience, for a line on your resume. You know, like you said, it's paying your dues. You have to pay your dues. If you want to have a talent manager or an agent, somebody legit, they're going to say, well, what have you been up to? And if you say, well, I don't really haven't done anything. Well, they're going to say, tell you what, come back to me in a year when you've paid your dues. That's it. So what you're doing is you're paying your dues. And what happens is all that hard work leads to lucky. You know, you got to put in that hard work, and then all of a sudden you get lucky. All of a sudden that one role comes along and you've been training for it. You've been doing the reps. You know, you've been taking care of your instrument. You know, I mean, I preach to you guys all the time, you know, this is your instrument. You have to take care of it. It's not, you know, just acting. It's, you know, spiritually, mentally, physically, having your instrument, you know, at peak shape, ready to go at any moment. So, you know, in school, I mean, what is the biggest lessons you've gotten from being here at the Manhattan Actor Studio? Biggest takeaways?
I think,
yeah, go Hunter.
I think my biggest takeaway from the Manhattan Actor Studio is just put yourself out there and leave fear behind. And I've struggled with fear, anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff, and it eats away at people, and it ate away at me for a long time. But that's like the biggest thing that you've taught to me, Billy, is acting aside, in life, you're always going to have that little voice kind of chirping, and these thoughts that are going to be negative in your head. And it's all about finding healthy ways to cope with it, whether it's breathing, whether it's screaming or laughing or just getting out of your head and doing something so you don't have to let this little voice manifest in something bigger than it is, because in reality it's nothing. It's just thoughts. So that's the biggest thing I've learned, just because I'm more of an introverted person, but once I get on stage, that's when it's playtime and I got to let all those little thoughts go away and just kind of turn into something else, which I love.
Yeah, I always say when you're in your head, you're dead, man. When you're in your heart, you're smart. When you're coming from your talent, your joy, love, peace, you're coming from that, it's a different vibration. You don't want to be the actor that walks into the room in their head. Oh, well, I hope they like me. Hope I don't forget my lines. I hope. No, you shoot yourself in the foot. You know, you want to be the actor that comes in, and not even as the actor coming in audition. It's the character in the given circumstance, fighting for whatever it is they need. And you're in play mode. It's Halloween, trick or treat. You got the wardrobe on, you got the hair, the makeup, whatever it is, and you're in the moment and you're playing and you're grounding yourself in a real place. You're putting up your fourth wall. It doesn't matter if there's 10, 20 people behind you, watching you. You just be in the moment and, really bring the character into the room. Rob, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the question was like some bits and pieces that we really got from the studio that we applied to today. That was kind of the question, right? I would say, so one, like I did the privates with you too. It was like the Michelangelo, I think it was, you call it, right? So I did that, built the demo reel, and the same thing, I watched some of that, and even that has got me auditions, but man, I can tell you I'm a little bit better now. But you got to start somewhere, right? And so that was a great start, and it was so challenging that I was like hooked on it. As soon as I put that together, I was like, man, I got to get better. And it just drove me, because I liked it so much. It was such a challenge to, learn the lines, build these characters, and then do it, not just in front of the camera, but in front of you, someone who's a professional. That was something that just like, building that reel, getting comfortable, like building the character, becoming the character, giving the character a true backstory, where'd you come from, where you going? Some things, when I go crazy with the characters now, like, like I was telling you, like build a vision board for your character. Like,
love that.
Who am I? What am I? Where, what am I doing? Where am I going? Where have I been? I am, I want, I need, I feel. I do that for my character, because we would do that for ourselves when we entered class, just to kind of, get our emotions out and, kind of connect with the class. But I do that with my characters, to disconnect. I don't want to say disconnect from myself, but really put myself in their shoes. I meditate like crazy now. I never meditated before your class, and you taught me that one of the first ones we did, the privates. I think it just, in terms of, I'm a very big visualization person. And I was like that before I started acting. I was like that in sports. Like I would visualize how I was going to play the next day. And I can't tell you it was 100%, but it was pretty close. I'd visualize the plays I was going to make. And now I take that and I apply that to the character. I apply that to my auditions. I apply that to being on set the next morning, how I'm going to approach it. And it's pretty darn close. And then I make my vision boards now.
Love that. For me, it's all about the vision. You have to see it. You have to plant the seed in here in order for it to come to fruition. You have to put it. I mean, for years, we would, every January, we'd sit around with magazines and I'd make you cut out and create vision boards. So you had that in front of you. You see it on a daily basis. This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve in my life. And, I can't tell you how many times I look at my vision boards that I still have them here. And I go, check, 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 check. Yeah, I did that. Got that. One year we were doing vision boards here, and I got the scraps. There was like one travel magazine left, and I got like, the last page of it, but there was a little gondola on it, and I was like, I cut out a gondola and I put it on my friggin' vision board. No desire to go to, wherever a gondola. I didn't even know where the picture was from. We did vision boards in January. I think it was like December, somewhere around there. My sister-in-law calls and says, well, we're going to Rome and we got this Airbnb and, you know, you guys should come. All you got to do is buy your tickets or whatever. Yeah, yeah, we should. So we jumped on a plane. We went to Rome. We stayed in Rome. Next thing you know, I'm in Venice and I'm taking pictures, and I took a picture of a gondola, and it's the same exact picture. You can put them, they're identical pictures. Now that should happen because I planted that seed. You know, you got to plant the seed. You got to see it. Anything in my life I've ever wanted to achieve in this life, I've had to visualize it first. The studio that you guys trained in, I visualized this studio. I saw it before it ever came to fruition. I dreamt about it. I knew the seats and I knew what I wanted to do. And I had built a little theater in Hollywood back in the 90s, a little shithole black box theater. But I always envisioned, my black box theater, a nice one. Why do they have to be all dirty and nasty? And, so, but I had it, I did a vision board for it, how the seat, the curtains, the this, the that, everything. And it's exactly the same. It's identical.
Mine's pretty close this year. I mean, not all of them, but it's especially the last like 2 months. Things are really like, I was like, man, I'm like checking these things off. It's crazy.
But I love that, I love that you said to me, you gave yourself a goal. You said, I'm going to book 5 commercials, something like that, right?
Yeah.
5 commercials. How many commercials did you book?
5.
Yes.
It was mid-October. I said, I need to book 5 commercials before the end of 2021. And I did. It was exactly 5 as of now. Now I have 2 weeks left.
Well, from October, you booked 5 commercials.
Mid-October. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what did you do? You took that money and you did what?
I bought the camera. That's
right. You invested that money into your career. You bought a really good camera so you could start creating your own projects and up your game. Mm-hmm. So, I love that. Love that. I mean, you have to invest in you. You're a business. You're a brand. You're a storefront. Rob Zoppo storefront, Hunter Shigley storefront. This is show business, not just show. You got to treat it like a business. And if a good camera is going to step up your game, your self-tapes, if I'm a casting director and I'm looking at some shitty footage, some blurry stuff, the guy with the background, poorly lit, whatever, I'm like, next. And then boom, I see an actor frame right, lit right, sound is clear, and there's a performance there. You're showing me the character. I'm going to go, yeah, that's the guy. That's how you change their mind. And that's how you become a working actor. Because you don't play it safe, boring. What do I always tell you guys?
Mm-hmm. Safe is boring. Don't play it safe. Go big.
Yeah, go big or stay friggin' home. You're wasting your time. And I'm not saying big acting. I'm saying big choices. If you got 5 minutes with that casting director, you don't want to be playing it small. You want to leave a piece of your soul behind in that room, because I guarantee you, if that casting director has to bend over to wipe up your tears because the next actor is going to slip and crack his head, she's going to remember you. Like, oh my gosh, I felt that guy, because you made that big choice. And that's why you guys are working, because you're not playing it safe.
Sure.
What has been the most frustrating thing for you, in this business so far, Hunter?
At first, the most frustrating thing was the rejection, but after however many rejections from audition, it's something you kind of get used to, and you don't let that hold you back. You just let it go. Like you said, you give it your all at the audition, and you just walk out the door, and kind of forget about it. And then hopefully, whatever, the next day or 2, you get a call back. But if not, you just go to the next one and kind of forget about it. So that has been a big frustration. I think the other side is just on the business side, because we come to class and we learn acting, and luckily you teach us a lot about the business side too, but we're kind of just, as actors, just thrown out there and kind of fend for yourself. Go get your own agent. Go, like, how am I supposed to do all this? So that was definitely a huge leap and kind of barrier that I was struggling with in the beginning, but I'm grateful for all the other actors in the studio and a lot of other actors that I've worked with on sets. Kind of coming to LA, I had this thought that everybody's going to be stuck up, and if I'm talking to another actor, he's not going to help me out because we're competing against each other. But for the most part, it's been the opposite. Everybody's been really helpful. Rob himself, hooked me up with this commercial agent. So it's about those relationships and helping the people around you out, because at the end of the day, it's probably gonna come back to you. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
You want to reach down and go, hey man, you need help? Come on, give me a hand. I'll help you up. I mean, that's for me, that's the secret to living is giving, being of service, helping somebody else, making a difference in somebody else's life. If you can be of contribution and be giving on a daily basis, it's a game changer. It's a life changer. And, if you go into these auditions, it's not like I'm not here to get anything. I'm here to give my talent. I'm doing you a favor. After you see me, you can go home. Everybody else, the part's cast. It's that kind of attitude that you gotta have. You gotta have that kind of confidence that I've outworked, out-prepped, out-choiced these other guys. They don't even know their last name. They don't even know where they grew up. I do. I know what my character did last night because I did a private moment exercise. I know, I've done an animal exercise. I'm coming in, it's affecting my behavior, the way I'm walking, the way I'm talking, my accent, the wardrobe, my hair, everything. Those choices, talent lies within your choices. Those choices the casting directors see. If you go into that room and play full out and have fun, you've won. You've won. There's nothing to be upset about. You did your job. Next. All right. Next. And then it's just a matter of time till that one role comes along and then boom, overnight success. But, you got to get the nose.
Definitely.
How about you, Rob? Most frustrating for you?
Most frustrating. I think I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself as a young man, always thinking like, I was a good athlete. I kind of reached the pinnacle of my lacrosse career at one point. And then, so I had that taste. And then when I started acting, I was like bottom of the totem pole. Right. And so, I had the belief that I can do it, but I knew that I needed to put in the reps. I needed to put in the time. I need to get better. And along that path, when you start to tell people like, yeah, I'm going to be an actor, it's like, well, what have you done? Have I seen you in anything? Or, oh, you know how hard that is? Oh, you think you can make money like that? How long are you going to do it for? Like, when are you going to get a real job? You know what I mean? Like stuff of that nature used to really drive me nuts because I was like, dude, I'm just getting started. Like, I need to not have those thoughts in my head. I want to do this, with a clear head. And so I think I let that get to me at first because it was like, all right, I believe in myself. I feel confident. And then as soon as you hear that and like, well, what have you been in? What have you done? Or you think you can do it? It's kind of like, damn, like, don't make me overthink this here, And so that was definitely one of the most frustrating things. I think getting started was just like everyone just thinks it's so hard, you know what I mean? Like or nearly impossible, where I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of time and belief and effort, and I was willing to kind of delay gratification to go for it. And so I think once I got over that, I was kind of like, you know what? I got blinders on. I got tunnel vision because I love you, but I'm going to live this life and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, you can't listen.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't.
You can't listen to the naysayers. My whole life, everybody laughed at me, told me it couldn't be, oh, you're going to be an actor, my whole life. But that just fueled me. And when they turned on the television and all of a sudden they see me starring in a TV show, or they had to go to pay money to go to see me in a movie, they walk by a billboard and there I am, on a huge ass billboard. It was like, oh shit, he actually did it,
Yeah. And I'm definitely blessed. My family has supported me the whole way. And so that's a blessing because I know I've heard people who it's the opposite. So my family's always been in my corner, but it's just, just like surrounding people that almost you shouldn't be listening to, but you do anyway. And so I've gotten over that for sure. That was definitely the most frustrating thing for me getting started.
What has been the highest moment so far in your journey?
For me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say I've been booking jobs pretty consistently. And so recently, I feel like, especially the last couple months, I guess that's a question. I have a couple things to say, but I'll just say one. So recently I'm going to stop being like a personal trainer, training in the gym, because I need to focus on acting because it's going well. And so it's almost like this change in my life where I'm feeling like I've almost already, my ROI has now been positive from all the acting classes, from all the headshots I've taken, where I know that, that's a blessing because some people, they go for it. They haven't really booked anything. I'm net positive and I'm doing just fine in LA, which is cool. It's right. That's I'm very grateful for that.
Congratulations.
So I'd say just recently, like really, I have technically 3 agents. I have a theatrical agent out here in Los Angeles. I have a commercial agent that Hunter and I and Chris, we all share. And then I have an agent who's been doing great. He's the one who got me, this country music video and some other stuff in like the Southeast. And so I feel like I fought through the COVID mess, because my family's like, hey, come home, work for dad, do the construction. And as much as I wanted to be with my family, I said, no, this is what, as a man, I need to accomplish this on my own if I really want to do this my way. And so I kind of stuck it out away from family. I took the classes with you online. I was able to still kind of book a couple jobs during 2020, but it wasn't much. But now this 2021 year, it's kind of paying me back tenfold, and I'm still just on the verge, but I think being able to now transition my focus into creating with Hunter, creating with my friends, kind of just focusing on my own training, not training. I love training other people, but I need to make room. And so recently I did that and it feels right.
Love it. Hard work pays off. It's that hard work you put in is paying off now in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to pay off even bigger in 2022.
I think so.
Hunter?
I think my highs, it's once you book a job, you just get that sense of like, damn, like all this work is it's worth it. And now it's playtime. So all the shorts and commercials that I've booked, you get that sense of just, you have the imposter syndrome saying like, am I really an actor? Am I just kind of going through the motions? But once you have something to show for it, that's kind of really what feels good at the end of the day. And I, over COVID, kind of when we were doing the 30-day self-tape challenge, and that's when me and Rob started linking up on Zoom, creating these little shorts. I think that's when I really got the spark and the fire lit for my ambitions and started to really love acting and creating these shorts. So for me, I think I'm feeling like it's peak time right now. Like I'm feeling great. All the juices are flowing, all this creativity, and going into 2022, I feel good and optimistic, and a lot of good things are going to come to me, and obviously you, Rob, killing it already.
I have no doubt, I have no doubt. You guys are super talented. I have no doubt in my mind. Mark my words. We'll have this video in history. Oh yeah, I remember when they were on that podcast, and now look at them up there on that stage getting their award. Listen, I remember Ben Affleck and Matt Damon when they first came into town, man. I'd be hanging out and partying, Ben be walking with his, barefoot and, at my friend Camilo Lopez's house. I mean, I knew them before when they just got here, and then to see them on stage getting that award, I have no doubt, man. You guys just keep doing what you're doing. It's just a matter of time. It's a roller coaster ride. You're going to have your ups. You're going to have your downs. There's going to be no auditions for freaking months. And then all of a sudden you're going to get 3 in a day. That's just the nature of the business, but every chance you get, every opportunity you get, you got to play full out, and you got to make some big choices and have some fun. And then, it's just a matter of time. And never quit, because, I know the people, they quit they're on the 1 yard line. They're about to score the touchdown and they quit. And they didn't know the very next audition could have been the one that put them on the map. Listen, I've been blessed. When I built this studio, I kept hearing that voice. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. And you know, you guys came, and a bunch of other talented actors that I've, you know, we got an amazing group. I mean, what is the Manhattan Actor Studio for you guys? What has it been for you?
For me, it's
go first.
For me, it's been one, just the start, the introduction to acting and kind of the one-on-one lessons with you. But beyond that, it's really been the relationships. I keep in touch with pretty much, like, for the most part, the core people that come, but I still keep in touch with everybody. I mean, this relationship and kind of shooting these short films and creating with Rob, none of this would have came from if I wouldn't have been in class. And I've been to other acting classes, and it's just the camaraderie, and it's not there in all of them. And when we come into class and all the exercises we do, we really learn about each other on deeper levels, and we let each other open up, and we don't put anybody down. And it's just a great environment, and it's something you can't beat.
Yeah, I call it the family, you know, the MAS family. When we remember, we do the family circle. It's us getting up and dancing around and making a circle and opening up our instruments. And, you know, that's why I'm very selective who gets in that circle, in this door. You know, you can't, not everybody just gets to do it here. You know, I mean, this is a special place. You know, this is my home. You guys are like family, you know? So I just honored to have you guys here. How about you, Rob? What's Manhattan Actor Studio for you? What has it been?
So I can speak specifically on you. I've always been someone who, I've always followed a very strong male figure in my life. Like my father, he's my hero. I've had great coaches in sports who, you know, raised me up. The gym I train at, this man, John, professional fighter, really strong mentor to me in that realm. And so when I walked in the doors, I knew that if I'm going to be an actor, I need somebody like that. And that's you. And I just knew that immediately, you know? And so you've taken headshots that I still use today with the beard, if you don't remember those. They're booking me work. Help me with the demo reels. You've given me advice when I was unsure of something, and you said you got to go with your gut and your heart. And so the mentorship from you, I would have to say, is number one, if I was to be perfectly honest, because that's what I look for. And then two, it's the family, like, of people who believe in something just so great that other people might deny, you know, or doubt. And when you're around people like that, you know, who is it? Like, people say you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with all the time. I don't know who exactly that quote's from. Many of people probably say it, but I'm like that. I believe in big things, man. I've always believed in big things, and I end up kind of getting somewhere in the avenues that I pursue. And so being around people, you know, like Hunter, I mean, Hunter and I have become like brothers in this gig. And I needed, because I was like one of those things, I almost wish my buddies from back home, like, I never really had that friend come out here with me and like, oh, we're going to go for it, man. Like, I love my buddies. They're my best friends back home and this and that, but I didn't have anybody in this kind of community that I can bounce ideas off of, or I can be a silly goofball and be like, yo, I need you to tape this for me, or, you know, like, because it almost doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And to us, it makes sense because it's your imagination, you know, and that's almost all you have in this world is your imagination, or else you're just kind of a cog in the wheel. And I didn't want to be a cog in the wheel. I wanted to create and be an artist and live my dreams and be, you know, kind of just feel that importance, you know?
Well, you're doing it, you know, both of you are. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to lean forward a little bit, right? I want to put your hand on your shoulder and go like this. Yeah. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Good job.
Good job.
You know, you got to praise yourself. You put in the work, you know, beautiful things come out, but you got to say, you know, good job.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
You got to be kind to yourself. You got to watch your thoughts, you know, because you're not your thoughts. You know, you got to guard the gates of your mind. You know, those gates are going to tell you, oh, you should quit, fear, blah, blah, you know, noise. It's just noise. You got to follow your passion, your heart. And if your heart's telling you this is, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. When your heart beats a little faster and people call it nervous, I call it excitement. I say that's your instrument saying, hey, you're on the right path. This is the way you want to go. You want to have that. If you don't have that, you're not doing the right thing, man. You got to get outside your comfort zone. You want that heart pounding. For me, that means green light, go. This is the path to go in. So when you feel that, embrace it. That's like batteries for an actor. You want that. Otherwise, you're freaking dead. People pay a lot of money for that. They jump out of a freaking plane. They climb a mountain. You get it on the stage in front of a camera. It's a beautiful thing. So embrace it. What kind of teacher am I? Hunter.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, yeah, who is Billy Gallo, the teacher?
Go, Hunter.
Billy Gallo, the teacher. Wow. Well, bouncing back off what Rob was talking about, you are a strong presence, father figure, whether it's acting or just life lessons in general, being respectful to others, being respectful to yourself, all those things that are necessary in life that you need to know and that not everybody tells you. And you'll tell it to us straight, which I love. I've done some bad self-tapes. I've done some questionable things, and you'll tell me how you feel. And I don't want a yes man, because a yes man is only gonna make me feel good, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna propel my career as an actor. You're an inspiration, Billy. All of us in class have probably watched most of your movies and TV shows and commercials. So you're a huge inspiration. And you just make class fun. I gotta say, one of my favorite part of class is just at the end of the class, just improv, and like when we're on stage, all just bouncing off these one-liners, zingers, and just seeing you laugh. It's like, holy shit, like we made Billy Gallo laugh, and that feeling, and it's just so fun. And that's what I love about being in class.
Yeah, well, we've had some good laughs. I can't wait to have you guys back in the studio and do some more of that.
Soon.
How about you, Rob? I mean, who am I as a teacher to you? What?
I would say, yeah. So, not to repeat myself, but one, it's just like you love acting. You like it. You know what I mean? It's not just the business. Like, you love building a character. You love the story. Telling the story and what that can be. On the stage or on in film. And so like the process, the creative process that you teach us, like I go crazy about it now because of, I think, your passion for that, because it's so important. If you really want to be a great actor and perform, it's like you need to become this character. And I'm sure there's plenty of actors that, they go out, they play this, they're them in every movie, and that's fine. That's just fine. You have a great career. But there's something about, like, I don't want to say it's so method, but there's something about that method, kind of, put yourself in their shoes, and, what do you smell in that scene? What do you taste? What did you, what did you eat before you walked in to that room? That just, like, it fills my mind with this just like creative imagination that I know that you just inspired me to really go nuts for that. And so, like, yeah, it's not, it's not like, oh yeah, be in movies and get rich. That's great. That's kind of like the byproduct if you're a great actor, but it's the process that's just so beautiful when you do it and you put in the work, and then people watch you perform. Like, performing in front of people, it's that, man, it's like ecstasy to me. I'm in that flow, and I just like, oh man, you can't beat that.
Yeah, one more thing too, especially with self-tapes and just seeing myself on film or having other people see me on screen, I had a huge fear with that. And when we did the 30-day self-tape challenge, that was huge for me, just getting all this stuff out. I'm going to put the work in and then do the self-tape, and post it. But just being able to not like fear, like, is this guy gonna think that I suck as an actor? Is this self-tape not as good as the other? It's just that kind of mentality that you told us to just send it out, just put it out, just get yourself out there and just be confident with what you did. And if you don't think you did well, do better the next time. But it's all about just getting out there. And that's one huge thing that you really pushed me to do.
Yeah.
I have a point to that. Sorry to cut you off, Billy. It's be willing to put out the B plus work or whatever you said, right? I forget exactly, but it's like, because you're not going to be amazing. You're not going to win an Oscar tomorrow unless you start, slinging it out.
Sure.
Because you might be busy or whatever. Put in your B work, and then eventually you're boom, you get that A, or your consistent work. You're so good, yeah. Now you got all A work if you put it in, put it in the time. But be willing to put out that B plus or B minus work, so that you're not, you kind of can take on that criticism or just see yourself on tape.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's been listening in class, but who cares? Who cares what anybody thinks, man? You do you. You put yourself out there. You got to let people know I'm an actor. This is what I do. You will fall, you will suck, whatever. Go ahead. You dust yourself up, you get back up, and you play again, and you keep playing and keep playing, and that repetition. What makes you, it's putting in that 10,000 hours. Anybody who's ever been good at anything, it's they put the work into it. And, putting those self-tapes. I mean, I love Maria that's in the self-tape challenge. She was petrified to put up a self-tape, petrified. And now I can't stop her. I mean, she's like on fire. She's got like, she's 30 days. She's like 6 months of self-tapes, but she's putting in the reps, and that's a beautiful thing. And I have no doubt that it's just a matter of time for her, because she's working on her craft constantly, and yeah, sometimes it may be B plus, B minus, or whatever, but you're doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. Love that. So, what do you guys got going on? I know you guys are working on projects together, and what do you got going on separately? What's up?
Well, we're writing a lot, we're doing short films, but the thought process of it was, I think Rob feels the same, but I want to act as much as possible. I want to act every day if I can. And some weeks there'll be no auditions. Some weeks there'll be 5, but it's never going to be consistent, and you can't control that. And what I can control is when I'm not doing auditions, when I'm not shooting a short that I auditioned for, I could write my own stuff. I have an iPhone, I could film my own stuff. Now we got a camera, now we could make good quality stuff on our own, and we don't have to wait for anybody. And that's something I love, because I could audition and hopefully get a role that I really want to do, or I could just write the role that I really want to do and just do it. So that's kind of what propelled us to start linking up and writing and starting to shoot. But yeah, it started over COVID, but in the last probably 3, 4, 5 months, we've been trying to meet weekly, and whether or not we just shoot the shit or we actually write a script, it's just about the consistency and kind of building the bond between us to be able to work together and to write and to share these creative ideas. So
love that. It's all about consistency. It's all about, just keep doing it, and you guys you're doing it. You're only gonna, the greatest way to learn how to make a film, it's not film school. It's like make a film. Go get out there, get in the trenches. You learn how to light, learn how to run the camera, learn everything, all the elements of filmmaking. Even if it is on a short film or a student film or whatever, you're learning the art of filmmaking, and then you take that and you find your passion project, and you find that that idea, that script that really can show your talent, and that's where you really, and then you call in favors. You got so many actors from the Manhattan Actor Studio if you need to cast a project. You got friends that you've worked with. I've introduced you to some really talented young filmmakers, Nathan and his brother. It's you're building your network, and it's who and you're using resources, and hey, let's shoot at your house, or hey, I know a friend of mine who's got a restaurant, maybe we can shoot in that place, you know, and it's creating your own stuff and using your resources. You know, that's a beautiful thing. How about you, Rob?
Well, I've been, like you said, I've been busy the last like 2 months. I've done 5 projects, mostly commercial. Hunter and I actually together, we worked on, so they're redoing the Fresh Prince. It's called Bel Air. It'll be on Peacock. And we were in, so Carlton plays lacrosse now. And so I played lacrosse growing up, and I was approached by the guy. It's through Game Changing Films as like the part of the production. He was a stunt coordinator, and he asked me, you know, could you come on, bring some lacrosse guys with you? And so Hunter and I went out there, and I had about, what was it, just one other guy with us? Yeah, just one of my other buddies with us. And you know, the guys didn't know how to play lacrosse. I'll tell you that much. And I don't, you know, I'm not trying to throw shade. It just was, you know, it is what it is. It's sports stunts. And so we were out there playing lacrosse, and that was pretty fun to be a part of, just to see. And I think we're going to go back every time they need lacrosse players. So we'll see.
That's great.
Yeah, which is cool. I was in Tennessee last week. I shot a country music video, which will come out soon, which was really cool because it was like, I was like the lead actor getting to tell the story with this girl, and you know, real pretty. It was real fun. Awesome. Yeah, I had a movie premiere on Saturday for an independent I shot in the summer.
Awesome. And congratulations.
Thank you. It was interesting to see myself on the big screen like that in the theater with some friends, but Hunter came, and my buddy Thomas and his fiance came, and just like, you know, the film is one thing and I gave it my best shot, but the experience of like, I went to dinner before, and then like there was like a little mini red carpet, and you meet and greet and you take your pictures, and then afterwards you had a little chat session in the theater. It was just like, you know, the movie aside, the experience put it in my mind that that's something I want to do 5 times a year, you know, or just the rest of my life, whatever it is. Go to Cannes, go to Sundance, go to the freaking Oscars, Emmys, you know, whatever it is, you know, it'll scale. But experiencing that is something that I think, honestly, over the course of the weekend, just kind of changed the way I think, because it's just, I don't think I'll ever give this up.
Bravo.
So, yeah. And then other than that, Hunter and I are shooting stuff as much as we can. We brainstorm like crazy. I think it's, you know, trying to, and I guess you can give us your feedback on this. You know, this is becoming long-winded, but now that there's social media, you know, you can only capture attention so much on social media. You know, if you post something that's 8 minutes long, I doubt many people are going to watch all 8 minutes. But we've been putting out these like little concept pieces that are 2.5, 3.5 minutes that I feel like everyone who watches it, they're like, I love it. But then like, well, what else happens? What happened before? What happened after? So we're giving people like the concept, but it's almost like they want to see more. So finding that, like I was asking Hunter, like, should we just make a full short and submit it, or should we just kind of keep putting things out so the masses can see it? Like I think we're stuck in that little, we're still working, trying to find our rhythm, but at what scale do we go?
Well, if you want to work those red carpets and you want to go to those short film festivals and stuff like that, I say make a short, make a short that you can actually submit to festivals. And, you know, so maybe somebody sees that short in the festival. I mean, look at Vin Diesel. You know, he created, you know, a project that Steven Spielberg saw and cast him in Saving Private Ryan. You know, I mean, you're writing your own ticket. So find your castability, how, you know, and write to that and create a short film and put it out there. You know, and then maybe you work the festivals, and then maybe after that it lives on a, what do you call it, YouTube, you know, and you know, you start creating a YouTube channel with your short films, and you know, you use your social media to kind of tease it. You know, here's the first 2 minutes. You want to see what's next? Come over here and watch the rest of the episode. You know, so I would just say, you know, go big. You know, create something that you can actually put out there. I do a little research and find out which short film festivals are out there and which ones have competitions. Maybe there's even a prize. and start working those. And, you never know. Those are places where you go. If you have a film in there, you network a little bit, you run into somebody, another director, another filmmaker, I mean, I used to love going up to Sundance. That was like a big party. And, I'm rubbing shoulders with other filmmakers and meeting people. And, a lot of stuff came out of that. So yeah, just make those big moves. Don't, reach for the brass ring, go big.
Mhm.
Don't.
That was a conversation we had this week,
Yeah.
just because we have we have what, 8 ideas of
Yeah,
shorts that we can write, but we can always extend them.
Sure.
But I think we're just trying to figure out the best way to approach marketing. It's almost like we're creating little sizzles for ourselves at the moment, but
Yeah.
I guess maybe why not go big and make a real short to submit and become legitimate.
I would, if you're going to spend some energy doing something, why not do something big, something that, you can show off your talent, that people in the industry will see. People that go to film festivals looking for talent will go, wow, did you see that film? These short film that these guys made, and ran into them on the red carpet. And, that's how, you got to make some moves.
Mhm.
Love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to be walking the red carpet with you guys.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, yeah. So last question, if you could go back and give the younger you some advice, what would that be? Rob?
In terms of acting, or just the young Rob?
Acting, life advice, what you've learned along the way.
Mhm. Personally, I got in a little trouble in college. I like to party, and I was got in trouble with lacrosse, and it was a real low part of my life. And I think it was because I was trying to not please, but just be a part of every circle at the time. And I was young. I didn't know any different, But if you find something that you're passionate about, you will start to, I think, navigate in a smaller circle that truly only benefits the love and passion you have to continue on that path. Whereas if you don't, you're just going to continue to be that not class clown, but you're oh, I'm here, I'm there, but you're nobody at the same time, right? The jack of all trade, the master of none. I've learned, I guess, there you go. That's the tip I'd say. I would recommend trying to master a craft and not be the jack of all trades, I think. Just because, I mean, jack of all trades, you live a great life, but the master of the craft is, if you really love that thing, you're going to be at the top somewhere, somehow. And you'll be surrounded by like minds in that industry or that art or that this and that. Whereas if you're the jack of all trades, you're probably just somewhere in that 60, 70 percentile of each one, which is fine. But I think I've learned that I want to be at the top and meet people at the top of the crafts and learn and just do really amazing work.
Well, love that. To master anything, you got to put the hard work in.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to come overnight. So that's, what you guys are doing now. You're working it now. So that's a beautiful thing. Hunter.
I think the biggest thing I would tell myself as a younger Hunter, and that I still tell myself today, is just stop comparing myself to other people. I'm on my own path. I'm going to get there when I get there. And I don't have to let what he or she is doing or not doing rub off on me, whether it's positive or negative. And along with that, just stop giving a fuck what people think. This is my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. And as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, I should keep doing it and keep pushing myself. So those two things is really what kind of led me down a dark path in life. But on the flip side, I do believe that everything kind of lines up and happens for a reason. So those things led to the darkness in my life, which led me to come to LA, which led me to come to the Manhattan Actor Studio, which led me here. So there's going to be ups and downs in life. And as long as you could handle the lows and just kind of ride it out, there's going to be some highs.
Beautifully said. I can't wait to see what's next for you guys. You keep working on your craft. You keep creating. I know there's going to be amazing things coming. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, here in the studio. And once again, I from the bottom of my heart, thanks for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And I'll see you guys soon.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was an honor, Billy. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
I missed
honor.
that studio like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be there soon.
You'll be here soon. All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Billy.
Hey, Billy.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, you can click here to watch the full podcast. Please make sure you subscribe. Please leave a comment if you have any questions you'd like me to answer on a future podcast. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified next time I post a video. And I will see you next time. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.